Hey y'all, it's your girl Corporate Carolyn, and I'm wrapping up my workday as per usual. I know I start with that a lot, but it's towards the end of a workday, and I always get all of these ideas about things I want to talk about on the channel. It's so funny, I went from having nothing to really say, like some people were saying that they missed me making videos a couple of years ago, and I said I had been praying for things to say, and I really didn't know what I should be talking about. And then now it's like my mind is flooded with ideas. So, and it usually starts around 4 o'clock or 4:30. So this is a little after that, and I wanted to share a thought that I had with you. I got the idea because I hadn't left the house in 2 days. I'd just been here working. Wearing the clothes that I wear and not leaving the house. My husband used up the only excuse I had for leaving the house, since I do my work here, no commute to or from work, and I could have gone to the grocery store, but he beat me to the punch and brought stuff home. So I've been sitting in the house for 2 days, and it was beautiful out. So I said, I'm going outside, and I was like, where am I going to go? Am I going to waste it on the grocery store? So I decided to go to one of my favorite places to pop in. I like to go to Ross. And so in case you guys didn't realize, based on the clothes that I'm constantly wearing, I love to shop. But even though I love to shop, more importantly, I love the concept of building black wealth. And a lot of times people love to tell me about statistics. I'm not that big on statistics. I don't really just research a lot and can just rattle off numbers with you. But one thing I do know is that black home ownership is not as high as it is for other ethnic groups. And I would like that to be the case, especially starting with a new generation. And you'll notice some of my videos where I'm normally talking about, if you're looking for a husband, or Mr. Right, things like that. I'm trying to combat hopelessness that I'm seeing, where people are just overwhelmed by what seems to be hopelessness, just thinking that nothing can work. And I've actually heard millennials talking about how hard it is to buy a house, because houses are so expensive, that they'll never be able to afford a house. And I know that you young people think that that because I lived in a different day, that I was buying homes like 25 plus years ago, that it's just so different now. But I'm here to tell you that things were hard then, things were hard now, and they're always going to be hard. So what you have to do is just find good practices that work, whether it's in the 90s, whether it's in the 2020s, or whatever the case may be. Because I'm here to tell you that when my husband and I first got together, we were engaged and we wanted to buy a house. And so we were out here looking in these streets. And even though the house prices were a lot lower, we were happy when the interest rate fell below 10%. It was at 9 7/8, and we were thrilled. And I remember I wondered, how can anybody afford a house that's $200,000? Because I was in my first job out of college, was making less than $30,000 a year. To put it in perspective, you guys earn more, so naturally the houses are going to be more. But the interest rates were almost 10%. So like I said, it's just always going to be hard, and you just have to plan. And what we did, we saved money and we waited for the right opportunity. And that's one thing I want to encourage you, that will be the case. However, they say that luck, like say some people might say, they got lucky and they found something. Luck is, 99% preparation and 1% opportunity, something to that effect. I can't remember exactly, but you get the point that I'm making. You have to be ready. And a lot of people like to shop, and they like to flex and and show off in their designer clothes or whatever. And a lot of people assume that I'm that kind of person. I am not. In fact, I have a husband that kind of keeps me in line, because he likes to buy things that appreciate, like homes, rental properties, not things that depreciate, like cars. I've only owned two new cars since we've been together. And in fact, he made us share a car until we bought our first single family home. We had bought like a townhouse condo, we had bought a regular townhouse that wound up being a rental property. And then we wound up buying, this beautiful house where we had, started having our children and things. But like he said, oh, you don't need to buy a car. Let's just share my car. Mind you, his car had a stick shift, and I can't drive a stick shift. My mind just doesn't want to grasp it. I want the car to, change its own gears, not for me to do it. And so, but anyway, he wouldn't encourage me to get a car. He said we can afford more house, and he was right. If they had seen that like a car loan on my credit, it would have been impossible for us to get the house that we bought. So it's really a good thing to get prepared. So you're never too young to get prepared. And the funny thing, we'll get back to the shopping in a second, but one thing that I told my son when he graduated from college 7 years ago, he was going to stay at home for a bit while he was looking for a job. And I said, as soon as you get a job, we'll talk. And so I took him out to dinner, and then I came up with a plan for him that I wouldn't charge him any rent during the first year or for any expenses as long as he saved X number of dollars, and that it had to be automatically withdrawn from his paycheck, and it had to go into an account where I could take a look and see it. And as long as he didn't pull any of that money out, he could keep it. But if he started pulling money out and I saw him like, buying expensive sneakers, clothes, going on trips, doing all sorts of things, and that money didn't accumulate like I wanted it to, then he would owe us for living with us. And so he kept that money, and I gave him a set amount of money that I wanted him to have raised in 2 years. I was like, if you stick to this plan, you'll have X dollars, and then you can move wherever the heck you want to move. And he says, I can do better than that. I can double that. And I said, well, go on with your bad self. And so he stayed at home, unlike some of the other friends who wanted their freedom, and they got like $2,000 mortgages. They bought brand new cars. He kept the same car that we gave him, which was a hand-me-down car, after he graduated. And then next thing you know, he had saved enough money where his first move was into a home of his own. That's what we need to be doing more of. And so you know what happens when you buy a home? It starts to appreciate. If you hold it over time, equity starts to build. That's how net worth is accumulated. That's why a lot of times other ethnic groups might have more net worth than we do, because they start trying to buy a home immediately. A lot of them have help, from grandmas, grandpas, or whatever, or money that they inherit. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have those things, that you can't accumulate wealth the same as those other groups can. Because my husband and I didn't have that. All we had were the savings that we came up with on our own, and where we weren't buying cars, we weren't buying a bunch of new clothes. Because I remember when I used to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, formerly Coopers and Lybrand, my clothes were lame. I was rotating the same outfits, like every week. And now, if you pay attention closely, I don't like to rotate outfits. But how am I doing that? How am I sticking with my husband's plan, of sticking with the program of keeping your money so you can buy things that accumulate or appreciate, and still look fly the way I like to look? Well, we made a compromise. Maybe I've been through some brainwashing or whatever, but I don't like to shop at really high-end stores, like say a Saks Fifth Avenue. I prefer Saks off Fifth. I prefer that to the actual store, and you can save 30-40% or more off of items. Like say this is a Calvin Klein dress, and Calvin Klein, for some reason, they just know how to make things that fit my body type, and I can just pull them off the rack, and they tend to fit. And so you can get a dress from a Saks off Fifth for $49.99, or less, whereas it might be, at the actual store, $99.99. Why do I want to spend $100 for a dress that I could spend about $40 for? Same thing for this jewelry. I think it might be by Eye Candy. It's from Saks Fifth Off Fifth as well. Same thing with the earrings. They are significantly cheaper than what they would be if I went to the actual Saks Off Fifth store. It's the same difference. There's no designer police that's going to bust you and say, aha, you got a deal on that. So I can just buy a boatload of dresses for what like some of those original dresses might cost. And so I love Saks Fifth Off Fifth for the jewelry, for the shoes. I'm trying to think if I have any shoes that are handy that I got from there. Oh, another store that I love, when I go to New York, I like to go to the Macy's at the Herald Square, and they have all sorts of beautiful shoes that you can get at a decent price. And I was wondering, where are my other shoes? Oh, here's one of my favorite pairs. I have these in brown too. I got these from the Saks Off Fifth in Herald Square. And so by the time the discounts and whatever were applied, it was like maybe $39 or something. And another thing, like these pumps, these would be at the Saks actual store. They might have been like 140 or something, but if you get them from Off Fifth when they have them on sale, they might be $49.99 or maybe $69.99, but that's a lot different from spending $140 on there. So you could get like 2 for 1 in shoes. And so another store that I love is Ross. And if I'm out of town somewhere, I was in Hawaii, there was a Ross I could walk to from my hotel. I was so excited. I was like, Lord, you really love me that I can walk to Ross. You know what I love. And so the outing that I had today, I went to Ross because I wanted some stuff as I'm redecorating my bathroom, and I thought I needed a new makeup container. And so here this is for $18.99. I can either travel with this, or it could just be decorative and I can put stuff in it in my bathroom. So I just went there, and like about 15 minutes I had that. And then I also had this as one to travel with to replace the busted one that I currently have. And this was how much was it? It was $12.99. And then it has a little snap, and then you can put your jewelry in there, and it has a hook where you can hang it up in the bathroom, and it has a place where maybe I could just put only the makeup that I want to take with me. $12.99. And then in addition to redoing my bathroom, I said we need a new soap holder. This was $5.99. I was in there probably about 15 minutes, and I was able to find this toothbrush holder, $7.99. No planned action. These things were just sitting out, and I wanted another soap dispenser. Isn't this cute? $6.99. I mean, if you had gone to like a high-end store, like say Bloomingdale's, or if you had even gone to Macy's and you didn't catch a sale, I would have spent at least triple, maybe even quadruple the prices of those. So guess what? I can treat myself. I can get nice things. I don't have to pay full price. And so if you want to accumulate wealth, black wealth, I'm calling this in particular, and get equity. And the reason you want to buy things that appreciate is because it makes a big difference in your life. Like, you're doing nothing. Like, you might be saving your money as you go along, putting money in your 401k and all of those things, but equity grows without you doing anything. It's just the fact that no one's making more land, and so the houses are going to appreciate if you do nothing in a lot of areas. And so the next thing you know, like, your house might have been $250. The next year, it might be $275. 2 or 3 years from now, it might be $350. It might be $400. By the time you've owned it for 10 or 15 years, it might have doubled in price. And what does that mean to you? That means that you can either sell it for a profit, and buy something bigger, or you could get a second line of credit, or a second lien or whatever, or an equity line on it, and pull some of that equity out, like say to rehab your house, or like to add a basement or something, or to pay for your kids' college or part of that. You could use it to help take care of an ailing parent. You can pay off some debt. You can do a whole lot of things with that. You can also refinance it if you wanted to. Take some cash out, maybe stretch the loan out. Although you notice I mentioned that last, because it will add years on to what you've already accomplished in terms of already almost paying it off. So that's the last option, but that's always an option too, especially if you refinance it, for 15 years where you can pay it off sooner. So those are wonderful things. The other thing, I talked about the new car thing, like my new car, well, it's not new. It's going to be paid off later this year, but my husband had the bright idea, let's just go ahead and pay it off, save the money every month, and then, and like, the company keeps sending me, or that car dealer, they keep sending me notes about what the trade-in value is. They want me to trade it in, and they want me to get another loan and to buy an even more expensive car. If I do that, that's going to go on my credit. And so, like, say if peradventure the Lord allows us to buy a house near the beach, which I'm hoping and praying in the near future that could be a reality, another more expensive car loan on my credit will limit the amount of what we could buy if an opportunity should arise. And I love my car, so I'll save the money that I might have been using for a car payment, make sure that my car is well cared for, performing all of the routine maintenance that the dealer recommends so that my car runs well, because I enjoy it, I love it. So keep it. Don't think that you have to buy a new car every year, because that really keeps you in debt. Or you could be like my husband, he only wants to buy old or used cars where he can just pay for them in cash, so he doesn't have a car payment. Those are good things. You want things that appreciate, not that depreciate. And so my other, top favorite stores where you can, be able to save your money so that when the time is right for you to buy a house, you can, like TJ Maxx. Oh, I love TJ Maxx. Regardless of where I am in the world, if I'm in Canada, if I'm in Florida, if I'm in Hawaii, I am going to TJ Maxx, because like some of the designer clothes that you might, spend like 3 times as much for, you can find them if you just treat like a little treasure hunt and just keep adding to your collection. Like now, I don't just buy for the sake of buying, I'm adding clothes to my collection. And so that's what I recommend that you do too. If you don't need it, if it's not just the most wonderful thing in the world and you just have to have it, just say, I'll wait. I don't really need that. So also Marshalls and like say Nordstrom Rack versus Nordstrom, and you can get like a lot of great costume jewelry, things that you would normally find in Nordstrom. No one can tell. Like I used to buy this wonderful Swarovski crystal jewelry by Naudry, and so like they sell that at Nordstrom, and then you go over to Nordstrom Rack and you see that for like maybe a third or half the price. And then also sometimes you could find things at TJ Maxx that were previously in Nordstrom or Nordstrom Rack, so you can save a boatload of money. And so like I was telling my youngest son, who's just really, starting his career after getting his master's and everything, he was telling me about the struggles of a millennial, trying to find a house or whatever. And I said, don't worry about that. Just, get on a good savings plan. We had a lunch meeting too. And we talked about what he should save, what he should automatically have withdrawn from his paycheck, what he should put into an account and let it grow over time. And then when the opportunity is right, keep your credit clean, flex on those credit card companies. Don't do the minimum payment. That's why you see those huge Capital One buildings, because a lot of times we're just paying the minimum payment on those big, beautiful Louis Vuitton bags or Chanel bags. I have a basic Coach bag, a little backpack that my husband, he buys those things for me. I don't spend any money on purses, because like a lot of times I'm not even carrying around that much cash. So why on earth would I ever spend $1,000 on a bag? It doesn't appreciate. The only bag I want is where someone's going to pay me money. And so, so what was I going to say with that? Oh, so, or like Christian Louboutins. I love the way that red bottom looks, but I'm not paying that because people don't know how much that stuff costs anyway. And that's why people are so pretentious and saying, don't step on my, $500 shoes. Most people looking at the average shoe, they can't tell whether it's $500 or whether it's $50 from TJ Maxx or something. So I wouldn't waste any time on that. And like when I go to Martha's Vineyard, the really wealthy people, they're just wearing basic clothes. The only time I've seen anyone wearing like an item with Chanel on it where it's like ostentatious was a black lady that came there, and she was a tourist just like I was. She was the only person that I saw wearing something that was ostentatiously designer. And so really wealthy people don't have to flex or flaunt. It's people who are trying to prove something that do. So what I would do is no, I wouldn't waste any money on those high-end items unless I could just really afford them. Where you go in there, not with your American Express or your Citibank, but with your maybe American Express that you're going to pay off at the end of the month, or whether you go in there with your bank card, your debit card, and just say, here you go, and pay for it and keep it moving. Don't accept their, the credit card where they say, would you like to open a credit card today and save 10%? Just say no. I say no to all of it, just like it's drug, because it is. And what I was telling my son, who because he's listened and he pays his credit card off as much as he's able to, they keep increasing the limit. And I said, congratulations, son, that's wonderful, but it's a trap. They want you to run your balance up and pay the minimum payment. That's how they get all of those beautiful buildings, because you're paying a boatload of interest. Like say if you had a $5,000 balance and you just paid the minimum payment, they would probably drag that thing out for over 10 years for you to do that, and they're just collecting all that interest and building these big beautiful buildings at your expense, when you could have just paid that junk off, or bought something cheaper and saved your money. So when the right opportunity comes along and the interest rates are low and then a house opens up, you have the money for your down payment, the money for your closing costs, and you have the good credit. So I always tell my son, flex on him, son. Let's do a $500 payment here, a $1,000 payment there. They're not expecting that. They want that minimum payment, and then they're going to dink your credit, and your credit score won't raise as high. And so that's the advice that I'm always giving, because what I do know is if you're a first-time home buyer, there are all sorts of wonderful programs that they'll use to make it easier for you to buy. Even if you have to write a letter like your girl did, because I had some dinks on my credit because someone else was using my credit card when I was in college. I had some dinks and some explaining to do. And so once I wrote my letter, they allowed us to have, a first-time home buyers program that allowed us to buy our first place back in 1991. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there and let you guys know. I didn't mean to talk so long, but this is something that's very, very important. It establishes generational wealth for not just you, but as the Bible says, you want to leave an inheritance for your children's children. And that's how other cultures do it. They buy property as quickly as possible. And a lot of those people in Martha's Vineyard, they're not driving around in the Mercedes and the Lamborghinis. I didn't see any Lamborghinis in all the time I've been going there. You might see BMWs, maybe some Mercedes, but you don't see a Rolls Royce and all that other stuff, because they're not trying to flex and flaunt. They know what they have, and they already have the generational wealth. So that's what we need to get. So we need to emulate them with our little Hondas and and Toyotas like they're doing. Put our money in the bank, and when your right opportunity comes along, you jump on it. And then after that, you get you some rental property and save it, so that you can get rental income. You want that passive income. Christian Louboutin, that's not going to help you with that. Louis Vuitton luggage and bags, that's not going to help you with that. Shopping at Cartier, get you some Fugazi from TJ Maxx and still look nice, but have your money in the bank. So that's all I have, and I'm so sorry that that's a lot, but I got to get back to work, and hopefully I'll have something really good to come back to share with you guys in the very near future. Until then, have a good one. Bye.